Good afternoon, Musketeers. It's October 27th, 2017. I'm Marta Berglund.
And I'm Daniel Stenger, and this is Xavier News.
From the Xavier University Television Studio, this is Xavier News. Your campus, your region, your world. This is Xavier News.
Starting with some international news, yesterday the United States imposed sanctions on 7 North Koreans and 3 entities. This was in relation to serious human rights abuses, including forced labor and hunting down of asylum seekers. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said, quote, "Today's sanctions target the North Korean military and regime officials engaged in flagrant abuses of human rights. We are also targeting North Korean financial facilitators who attempt to keep the regime afloat with foreign currency earned through forced labor operations." End quote. The statement also outlines the United States' concern with the North Korean military, saying it acts as a form of secret police and punishes all forms of dissent.
News from yesterday, Saudi Arabia became the first country to grant a robot citizenship. The move is an attempt to promote Saudi Arabia as a place to develop artificial intelligence and presumably allow it to become a full citizen. But many pointed out that those same rights aren't afforded to many humans in the country. The robot, named Sophia, was confirmed as a Saudi citizen during a business event in Riyadh, according to an official Saudi press release.
Meanwhile, in Mogadishu, Somalia, a woman was stoned to death by the extremist group Al-Shabaab after cheating on her husband. The woman was 30 years old and a mother of 8 children. Al-Shabaab has been fighting in Somalia for years to overthrow the nation's Western-backed government and implement its strict interpretation of Sharia law. The group is known for its harsh punishments of religious infractions. Punishments include the severing of limbs and public executions. The mother lived with her children and legal husband in Hagar village, but was unfaithful after saying she was traveling to Mogadishu to visit relatives.
As fallout from the contentious U.S. 2016 election continues, yesterday Twitter said that it is immediately removing all off-board advertising from 2 of Russia's largest media outlets, Russia Today and Sputnik. In late September, Twitter said that 3 accounts tied to Russia Today, such as RT America, were specifically targeting the U.S. market in 2016 ahead of the presidential election. Twitter said at the time that RT spent $274,000 in U.S. ads last year and promoted more than 1,800 tweets. Twitter said both accounts will remain active as organic users. Twitter also said it will donate the $1.9 million in advertising revenue it received from RT to, quote, support external research into the use of Twitter in civic engagement and elections, including use of malicious automation and misinformation, with an initial focus on elections and automation.
For some national news, deep tax cuts are becoming more likely as the House of Representatives passed a new budget plan yesterday. The House passed the bill with an extremely close vote of 216 to 212. This allows the bill to win congressional approval without any Democratic votes. Despite the fact that the legislation passed, the budget has caused revolt within the Republican Party, with 20 Republicans voting against it alongside the unified Democrats. The outline of the Republican plan announced last month would cut the corporate tax rate to 20% from 35%, the small business rate to 25% from up to 39%, and the top individual rate to 35% from 39%.
President Trump yesterday afternoon declared the opioid crisis sweeping America a public health emergency. Trump said nobody has seen anything like what is going on now. He added, quote, "As Americans, we cannot allow this to continue. It is time to liberate our communities from the scourge of drug addiction. Never been this way. We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it," end quote. Trump, through the Public Health Services Act, directed his acting Secretary of Health and Human Services to declare a nationwide health emergency, a designation that will not automatically be followed by additional federal funding for the crisis, according to a senior White House official.
For some local news, 23-year-old Aaron Lawson from Pedro, Ohio, was arrested in connection to the shooting deaths of 4 people in rural areas of the state. He is charged with the killing of 3 adults and 1 8-year-old boy, all of whom were found dead in a Pedro trailer. Police responded on Wednesday to the trailer after a report of a man being attacked there with a knife by someone believed to be Lawson. Officials found 3 adults shot to death inside, but did not search the premises thoroughly because they did not want to disturb the scene. When officials returned with search warrants and combed through the trailers, investigators found the boy's body yesterday. Lawson was known to visit a trailer nearby to where the victims lived.
According to police, a would-be robber in Forest Park was sent to the hospital after a store clerk knocked him out. Police say Andre Young, 52, pulled a box cutter on a clerk at the Speedway on Northland Boulevard around 12:30 a.m. According to the police report, Young grabbed a beer and took it to the register. The cashier rang up the beer and told him the total. Young then brandished the box cutter and attempted to jump over the counter, but the cashier pushed him off. The clerk then punched Young and called 911. Police said Young suffered significant facial injuries and was still on the scene when they arrived. Young was transported to the hospital for treatment to his injuries. He is now in the Hamilton County Jail on a $175,000 bond. Young was charged with aggravated robbery and felonious assault. He was previously convicted of robbing the same Speedway location back in 2005.
Yesterday and Wednesday, students on Xavier's campus had the opportunity to participate in electing new student government executives. Following campaigning, canvassing, and debating by all three groups of candidates, it was announced yesterday that JBC will serve as the new student government executives on campus after a record 37% voter turnout. JBC was officially endorsed by the Xavier Newswire, receiving an overall grade of A- from the campus newspaper. Their platform shows a focus on offering food options to students over breaks and eliminating waste from the Xavier company Chartwells. They also place a focus on numerous health and safety, diversity, and sustainability issues.
All right, that's all from the news desk, people.
We'll be right back with Lucas Robbins and the Xavier Sports Report.
I'm Lucas Robbins, and let's start off by talking about one of my favorite events of the school year, Musketeer Madness. Last Friday, the men's and women's basketball teams treated students, parents, and fans to a showcase of their skills and the debut of a new Cintas Center features, including a controversial and rebranded student section called the Holy Land, the name of which is still under discussion, and the revival of the old Norwood Cafe in the Upper Bowl, now called the Woods. The crowd of over 6,000 people was also shown an excellent scrimmage of the men's basketball team with Team White of Tyreek Jones, Paul Scruggs, Trayvon Blewett, Leighton Schrand, and Kareem Cantor defeating Team Blue of Quinton Gooden, Elias Harden, Najee Marshall, Kaiser Gates, and Sean O'Mara, 20-17. Tyreek Jones was the highest scoring player overall with 8 points and 4 of 5 shooting, while star Trayvon Blewett had the highlight of the night with an acrobatic reverse layup that energized the Musketeer faithful. Meanwhile, on the women's team, sophomore Ashley Gomez impressed with a very good performance on the three-point contest, with a high on both teams of 18 points. The other Big East coaches might not have much confidence in the women's team, as the coaches' poll had Xavier ranked last in the conference, but Gomez and her teammates will look to prove them wrong, starting on November 11th versus New Hampshire. And finally, a special shout-out goes out to Michaela Fitzpatrick, as she was named the Big East Golfer of the Week for the second time this season after setting a Xavier record with a 54-hole score at last week's Palmetto Intercollegiate in Southern Carolina. She finished as the runner-up in the 17-team tournament and broke a 7-year-old record set by Audrey Felmuth in the 2010 Badger Invitational. This was her third top 10 finish this fall, moving her career top 10 finishes to 5 total, and she has the potential to break another school record in best scoring average at 75.2, which would break the current record of 75.25 set by Shane Crutchfield in 2015. Congratulations, Michaela, and best wishes for your spring season. And that will do it for this broadcast of Xavier Sports Report. Happy Halloween, Musketeers, and as always, let's go X.